I'm just gonna talk. I'm just gonna fucking do it. Welcome to the Sauce Pod. I am Taylor, your host of The Sauce and The Sauce Pod. I usually have Anna with me. This week she's out. She's not feeling too well, so wishing her a speedy recovery, and we will be back at it together next week. So in the meantime, I'm here to give you all of the sauce, all of the good stuff that you might have missed in the last couple weeks. Lots has been going down in the AI space, as well as, everything that content creators and social media marketers and just general entrepreneurs might want to know as they're building, bootstrapping, growing their businesses online. So I'm going to share with you all the news. Before that, definitely recommend checking us out where we release our newsletters every week on Substack. You can find us on the Sauce FFS for Food Fight Studios .substack.com. That's where we release our weekly newsletter every Monday night that hits your inbox full to the brim of all kinds of good shit for creators. We also have special series up on there, some additional content for our premium subscribers. And then of course we do our podcasts every week, so you can find us wherever you stream your podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple. Let's just get into the news today. The big news that's been populating all of the headlines over the last week, which is, you guessed it, Apple's new headset. So of course we're going to be talking about that. Google, who's just recently invested in Runway. NVIDIA is out with Neuralangelo. We've got Photoshop Generative Fill, one of my favorite tools these days. We've also got Character.AI, which I'm going to throw into the mix. First up, we've got Runway officially landing on Google's Runway, you guys. And if you don't know what Runway is, you might know it as Runway ML. It's an AI research lab and tool platform, dozens of AI capabilities, lots of cool stuff that you can do, from text to image generation to AI enabled video editing and video enhancement. And I believe they've just released Gen 2 to the public. But that's not the news here. The news is that Runway has attracted a pretty significant investment from Google, which is naturally stirring some speculation that Runway could switch from Amazon's AWS cloud servers over to Google's. And that's a big deal because right now they're using Amazon's AWS servers to manage a lot of the cloud computing that goes on. So if they switch over to Google, that could definitely shake things up a little bit. And I think that this is a trend that we're going to start to see more and more, where these big tech giants like Google, like Meta, are going to start scooping up these smaller startups. It's the same sort of trajectory that happened in the early days of like programmatic advertising with Facebook and display advertising. Also the same stuff that happened with like hyper personalization and one-to-one marketing. A lot of these smaller startup tools started creating these products, these very software as a service SaaS products that could then be plugged into these different larger ecosystems from Google or from Facebook, now known as Meta. And not to say that there aren't giants emerging even from all of this, because NVIDIA is one that has been, of course, on people's radars for like the graphics cards. But they did announce something called Neuralangelo. It's like Michelangelo, but it's not. Neuralangelo is NVIDIA's new AI model, and it has the ability to turn videos into detailed 3D structures. It creates more immersive and detailed representations of physical objects and spaces. So basically, it's really good at taking textures in a flat 2D video, stuff like roof tiles or window glass or smooth marble, and making it look really highly realistic as a 3D model. So it does this a lot better than any of the previous AI models that have attempted this. I also linked in this week's newsletter a thread from one of our friends, Blavel, who kind of wrote up a quick guide to how it's working and what it looks like right now. It's pretty mind-blowing. Definitely check it out. But the whole point of this is that NVIDIA is also rising through the ranks to kind of join the rest of the big tech companies. It could be a major winner in the end of this game. So I don't know if AI will ever end. I think NVIDIA has a really good chance of being up there with the Googles and the Metas and the Apples of the world, which we're going to talk about. The third AI update we got this week is, of course, Photoshop Generative Fill. It actually was released 2 weeks ago. So in case you missed it, they launched this AI feature that basically lets you, in Photoshop, manipulate images based on text commands. I've played around with it quite a bit. It is a separate app that you have to download called Photoshop Beta. If you are a paying Adobe user, you'll have access to it. It's a different icon than the regular blue Photoshop. It's like a mesh thing. But that's Photoshop beta. And then once you're in there, you can select pieces or parts or elements of your image, of your composition. You can expand it beyond the existing crop and even like replace elements. Do you guys remember the content aware fill feature in Photoshop, which has been a personal favorite for me for a few years? This is like the next evolution of that. If you're selecting a portion like of the entire composition, you know, maybe it's like a chair, or you want to like remove a person from the background, or you want to replace the sunset with mountains or something like that, you just use your selection tool and you can select it, and then you get this like modular pop-up box that says what do you want to create. You type in what you want there, whether it's expanding it or whether it's just adding a new element to it, and then it creates it right there for you on a separate layer. It's really cool because prior to this, you would have to take out your work if you're already working in Photoshop, take it out to another tool to do the AI gen, whether that's like a Midjourney, a Dream Studio, Leonardo, Lexica, any of those, even Dolly, any of those where you're working directly with the AI models to generate images. Now you can do it directly in Photoshop. So pretty amazing stuff. It's still in its early days, but it's getting better and better. And I can expect, because this is in beta, this will be rolled out into the primary production instance of Photoshop at some point this year. I believe that the model is trained on Adobe stock, which pulls from a lot of the metadata and tags that Adobe stock already has. And I think one of the benefits is that it's all licensed content, so there's no artist references and the issue of like stealing IP and things like that to create these AI generative works of art, design, whatever you want to call them, doesn't really exist with Photoshop because they are trained on licensed images from their own Adobe repository. All of which is to say that people are getting really, really crafty, super creative with this stuff. You see these like meme expansions, you know, all of those like famous memes, like the girl standing in front of the burning building or the guy looking back at the girlfriend. All of those memes have now taken on a new life because they've been expanded. People are playing with what actually this looks like. Same with like movie posters and like famous albums, music albums and things like that, expanding it beyond just to see just another fun way that people are taking this to another level and, you know, flexing the capabilities. I love seeing the cool stuff that comes out of every time a new tool is released. People try to like take it and flex it to the max to see what you can really do with this thing. So this is just another use case of Photoshop's generative fill. Check it out and play around with it. And if you do, let me know. Hit us up on Twitter at The Sauce, or you can find me at Space Case Tay because I want to see your creations. Character.AI, which if you haven't already heard of Character.AI, definitely something to keep tabs on. It's kind of a fun, quirky app. It is mobile based. It allows you to chat with AI versions of famous personalities. So people from history, from pop culture, from fictional stories. You can have individual chats. It's kind of like ChatGPT, but if you were talking to like your favorite character. So instead of talking to ChatGPT, you can talk to Harry Potter. You can talk to somebody from Star Wars. You can talk to Abraham Lincoln. You can talk to Meryl Streep. They've got a funding round already of $150 million that was announced last week. They've secured their spot in the AI world kind of because of this. I predict that something like Character.AI will probably get scooped up the same way that we are seeing Runway get these investments from Google. So definitely the AI arms race is on. In just a short time since Character.AI launched, I think it's only been out for a couple months now, they've clocked over 1.7 million downloads from the App Store. Maybe next time you're doing like persona research or looking for some context to build out, you know, your identities of your customers, your brands, your book characters, if you're telling a story, definitely something that's super interesting and worth keeping a pulse on. And then on the other side of things, less so AI news and big updates, but Snapchat is continuing to integrate generative AI. We already know that Snapchat has this My AI thing that people are feeling very hot and cold about. Some people love it. Some people absolutely fucking hate it. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit creepy. But Snapchat is continuing on this AI path, this journey. This new feature called Dreams basically just lets you place your likeness, your photo, your selfies into these new created realms powered by AI. So you upload your photo and then it's like, "Hey, look, here's how you look on a moon. Here's how you look in a celestial forest." It's a small update, but it's definitely just further proof that apps like Snapchat and Instagram, I think recently integrated some AI stuff as well. They're playing around with a chat bot, or they're testing some stuff. This new Dreams feature is a great example of how that's going to continue working. Okay, so on the note of AI, let's talk about public perception. What do people really think of it? It's a mixed bag of emotions. The common thread is that almost everyone agrees that it needs to be regulated. According to recent Morning Consult data, the US public is showing varied level of trust in AI companies. Duh. Roughly 38% of people indicated that they trust them to do the right thing, while an equal amount expressed outright mistrust. Absolutely not. I do not want any part of that. 26% are unsure. So right now, the way that things stand, it's all over the map. Some people love it. Some people like us, the AI diehards, who see the potential. And then there's other people who see it as very much a threat and something to be reckoned with at some point in time. I think I read a stat recently somewhere that said that only like 11% of the US population are actually even using ChatGPT or have ever used it. So that's an interesting one to keep tabs on. Knowing that these large scale opinions are already surfacing at mass, despite the fact that so few people might actually be using it. I think, again, this is where the branding of what AI really is comes into play. So now we know it's sort of all up in the air. It's all over the map. It's such a mixed bag. But party lines and generational gaps, interestingly, guardrail this entire perception. I trust in in these AI companies is aligned to like political and generational lines, which I think that we probably could have assumed. Democrats show more trust, 47%, than Republicans, 32%, or independents, 33% in AI. Millennials lead in public perception of trust in AI at 48%, while baby boomers lag behind at 27%. Gen Z is kind of a split decision. 38% of them are for it and against it. There's been tons of notable AI experts who have come out saying this poses an existential risk. Most recently, in a 22-word statement, they called for the mitigation of AI risks and asked for it to be a global priority, comparing it to threats of pandemics and nuclear war. And it's a priority. I think everyone is agreeing at this point, while the possibility of an AI-driven apocalypse is probably a few decades out, possibly. This call for scrutiny and vigilance is getting louder and louder every week that I think that we are in this AI storm. The common ground here is that there needs to be some sort of broad support around government regulation in the AI sector. So as AI continues to advance and integrate and become more and more part of our everyday lives, we can expect these conversations to continue at this scale until something is done about it. The big news we've all been waiting for. Apple last week finally announced Vision Pro, its first ever AR headset. I know this isn't exactly AI news, but it's definitely AI adjacent, so I'm going to share with you the details of everything that we know about it. And for a long time, this was kind of like hushed whispers. People were like, yes, Apple is doing it. Apple is developing something. Apple's making this cool thing. We're all just waiting to see what Apple is doing. And they finally just like shattered all anticipation at the Worldwide Developers Conference that happened last week. Keynote itself was really, truly a captivating experience. If you are a marketer or a production expert, I would so recommend checking it out just for the production value of it alone. The reason this is a big deal is because Apple's Vision Pro headset, which is super sleek looking, kind of looks like these like futuristic space goggles, but still very smooth. Some people are calling it like an Apple Watch, but for glasses, an Apple Watch, but goggled. But this is a big deal. Wider use of AR and VR tech, giving brands and creators more of an opportunity to kind of reimagine how this content or products are experienced. It's not happening tomorrow. Definitely not happening tomorrow. The product is expected to launch early next year, with a starting price of $34.99. That's not $34.99. That's $3,499. If you are buying this thing, you are either an early adopter and you know this technology and you're excited to get under the hood, or you're a developer, or you just have a lot of money to blow. So here's what we know about the headset. The Vision Pro is what it's called. It's Apple's first augmented reality AR headset. It supports full virtual reality capabilities as well. It operates on a spatial operating system. So a lot of people are saying, this is Apple bringing spatial computing into the foray. They explicitly avoided using AI and using metaverse. Apple's just like, fuck it, we're going to do what we want. So spatial computing, you can probably expect to hear that a little bit more. When you're wearing the Vision Pro, you can swipe through like images, you can relive memories, you have this whole 360 spatial audio happening as well. The headset itself can be controlled via eye movements, hand gestures, voice commands. It supports Bluetooth accessories like Magic Keyboard, of course, Magic Trackpad, all of our favorite Apple stuff. And it also connects to the Mac for using your Mac inside of the headset. That is all the scoop that we've got on Apple's headset. Let's get into what's happening in the social verse. We've got Instagram, viral TikToks, and of course, the full Twitter download. I'm sad that Anna's not here with me to talk shit about Twitter this week. Starting with how Instagram's algorithm works, okay? So following in the heels of Twitter doing that, Instagram's CEO, Adam Mosseri, last week released a new video and a blog post on Instagram's website. It's all linked in the newsletter. He said in an Instagram video that he's pulling back the curtain, giving everyone a look under the hood at what's going on, how different surfaces and touch points on Instagram are actually ranked according to the algorithms. First things first to know right off the bat, there's already an algorithm or modeling in place to predict who is likely to open what. So in terms of how Instagram ranks content on the main feed, that's based on predicted interactions and user history. So users can kind of shape and influence that algorithm behavior and the content that's served to them by designating things like favorite accounts, saving and hearting, liking posts. And when you designate those favorite accounts, those will appear more at the top of your feed than anything. So that's also something Instagram creators can communicate to their followings as well. Favoriting, your account will ensure that it stays at the top of their algorithm when it comes to feed stuff. Reels, which are aimed at entertainment. Same thing that TikTok calls themselves as a platform, an entertainment platform, not a social platform. Even on Instagram, Mosseri said that Reels and the way that Reels rank content is based on the likeliness to entertain, serving primarily from accounts who users don't follow. Instagram will predict what Reels users are most likely to watch based on things like hashtags, SEO in the description. And so they want users to watch till the end, share with friends, visit the audio page, and those little interactions are what Instagram is flagging as interest in a particular type of content or type of video on Reels. So again, it's kind of the same common thread with all of these, where if you're liking and engaging and favoriting and bookmarking this content, regardless of which touch point it's on Instagram, that's going to contextualize or trigger Instagram to then rank that content higher for you. The Explore algorithm is what aims to serve the best content from unfollowed accounts. So this is all going to be stuff that you don't follow. It predicts posts that, again, you're likely to interact with, save, or share. It uses signals like post popularity and topics that users tend to be interested in to rank that information, that content for you. Mosseri also talked about shadow banning and the misconception of what shadow banning is on Instagram. Basically, he said that being shadow banned or restricted in like things like search or discovery could be due to several factors, and that Instagram doesn't deliberately reduce reach. For them, it definitely doesn't benefit them to impose restrictions or shadow bans on accounts. It makes sense. That was Mosseri basically clearing the air and being like, no, shadow banning's not really a thing. And really, it could be due to any several of factors, from your content or your account not being optimized to hyperactivity or inactivity. There's all kinds of things that could contribute to a decrease in visibility or reach. That's the tea on Instagram. Viral TikToks are on the decline, you guys, and it's not just your imagination. There literally are fewer viral videos on TikTok now. As of April this year, half as many new posts were getting 10 plus million views as in February comparatively to last year, 2022. That's when the app hit the peak of about 9,259 viral videos per week on average back in Feb 22. So as of now, half of those posts are getting 10 plus million views. It could be because the app's user base grew massively, and of course content is starting to get more and more niche down because of that. It could be because the user base has grown from a billion near 2021 to now 1.6 billion is what it hit this March. A whole new slate of influencers, content creators, brands are all competing for the same eyeballs. Smaller creators are getting squeezed too, though. Average views on smaller creators' videos are also declining, or have reported decline since December as well. It's definitely something we need to keep a pulse on. All right, and you knew we couldn't go this whole time without talking about Twitter. So even though Anna's not here with me to help me out and to bemoan the sorrows of Twitter, I'm going to try my best to give you the whole download on what's been going on with Twitter. Twitter's new CEO, Linda Yaccarino, has stepped into office. I love calling it that. She jumped into the hot seat officially at Twitter sooner than anyone could have expected. We were still thinking that she would have a few weeks, but she was ready to get in. Probably had something to do with the massively declining ad revenue. I'll talk about that in a second. We don't really know a whole lot about her. I don't personally, but we've talked about some of her background. She has really great relationships with advertisers. She was previously the head of advertising at NBC Universal. Stepping into her role as CEO at Twitter during this chaotic time is, of course, going to come with an entire slate of challenges. She's going to be overseeing Twitter's business operations, which, by the way, is still scrambling to find a way to actually make money. And another Twitter executive has walked away. This time it is the head of trust and safety who's been like, bye guys, I no longer want any part of this bird app. Is the second time that somebody has left that role, head of trust and safety, during Elon's tenure at the company. And then of course, Twitter ad revenue is in the gutter. We knew this. It's been a long time coming. A lot of big advertisers, we're talking advertisers who spend millions, if not tens of millions of dollars per year advertising on the platform. Large majority of them have walked away over the course of the last several months during Elon's time in office. And a lot of that is due to a combination of several different factors, from, proliferating hate speech to reach and challenges with like the algorithm as well. The fact that they pretty much seem to let everyone advertise on Twitter these days. So it's kind of clear to me the fact that Twitter is lurching or really looking for something to grapple onto as it's trying to sustain whatever remnants are left of its ad business. By the way, you need Twitter Blue in order to advertise, or you need to be a verified organization, which I think the lowest tier for that is $1,000 a month, up to like $10,000 a month. So you can't even advertise unless you're one of those. According to an internal report obtained this week by the New York Times, ad revenue is down 59%. Just 5 weeks from the start of April, despite Elon Musk claiming the opposite. It's the best it's ever been. It's expected that the platform's ad revenue is going to continue shrinking by at least 56% each week compared to last year. Quite a gift for poor Linda Yaccarino to inherit. We wish her all of the best. We'll definitely be keeping tabs on everything else that's going on in the wild world of Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to The Sauce. You can check us out on our newsletter at thesauceffs.substack.com. It's linked here in the description. Or if you want to catch the pod, listen to old episodes, or just listen to the replay of this, favorite it, subscribe, heart it, rate it. We love that. Even comment, leave a comment or two. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and whatever RSS reader that you might use to aggregate your podcast. And that's it, you guys, for this week's episode of The Sauce Pod. See you soon. Hey guys, that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Sauce Pod. Hope you enjoyed yourself, maybe even learned a thing or two. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also subscribe to our newsletter that goes out every Monday night. All of the latest and greatest tips, news, and trends for content creators and digital entrepreneurs. Until next time, stay saucy.